Hey, are you ready to hear some crafty music conversations? I know I am. I know this guy is.
Sure am.
We're going to do it right now. So, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm in your house. This is a lovely house. I'm very envious. There's so many guitars that we've got. We've got a pool table. We've even got a thing that I could play on if I was a cat. So the idea of this is that we just have a chat like we always do, and every time that we're having a chat, I don't know if you think this, but I always think, well, this is actually like good stuff. It's probably a little bit because we're kind of alike.
Yeah, we are.
And I've
different hairstyle, but we're
still
like-minded souls.
There we go. Yeah, and so it's a little bit of that vanity, but I always think that if we spend a certain amount of time, whatever it is, on our craft, well, then there's bound to be people that will think, oh, I want to know what they do in order to be able to do the things that they do. Yeah. So, would you tell everyone, who are you and what is it that you do, and just so that they know who we're dealing with?
Yeah, thank you. My name's Vito Grillo. I live in Adelaide, and I've known Crafty for a while. I'll give our band a plug. It is You Sing. It's like a karaoke style band. Yeah, like Crafty, I also do other things which I think as a musician you've got to diversify a little bit. It helps you grow as a musician. It expands your network, which helps ultimately in getting you work, gigs. My band in Adelaide's Jungle Jooce. I also tour with some shows, done a lot of work around Australia in theatre work. I've done more recent times the Billy Joel show. I've done a Roy Orbison thing, done some Elvis stuff. Now some of that stuff as a guitar player, some is as a backing vocalist to the main artist as such. Some of it is both. So yeah, it's just playing a part. That artist has got their vision, and your job is to support that vision. And so that's what I've been doing for a while. I do some teaching as well, some mentoring and that type of thing, similar to you, Crafty. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer, isn't it? When people say, "Oh, so what do you do?" I sometimes I go, "Oh,
where do you start?"
Yeah, but that was good. There was a few things that I actually didn't know about you there.
Right.
Like I knew about the Elvis thing. I knew about Billy Joel. I knew that you did some teaching, but I didn't actually know that you've toured around just as a backing vocalist.
That's been mainly with the Elvis stuff. What I do, there's some Elvis tribute artists that perform around the world, Las Vegas, places like that, throughout Europe and so on. In more recent times, I was involved with some American tribute artists, both here in Adelaide and at an Elvis festival in Parkes, New South Wales, as well as a cruise ship where I was asked to be the bass vocalist. Now, which entails me to do some very low notes, that kind of thing. So, all that doo-wop stuff, some of the gospel stuff. So it helps expand me as an artist too. I think a good key component of that is to be versatile. So
you said the word diversify before.
I think. Look, I'm a full-time musician, so it's important for me that I put myself out there. I put myself in the shop window a few years ago when I decided to become full-time, but that meant that I had to maybe play a different role, be it singer, fronting my own band, different things, diversifying and learning how to be a performer as well. So instead of looking at my shoes all night, and I learn off other artists. If you look back, different eras, 70s, Jackson 5, Earth, Wind and Fire, Kiss, they all had that mindset of putting on a show. And so on stage, they shifted a lot of energy off that stage outward, and not only just playing the guitar, but everyone in those bands are a front person. So vocally, whatever, choreographically, you know, like a form of energy doesn't have to be like dancing like Michael Jackson. It can be eye contact to an audience member. You're pushing that energy outward. You're connecting, that type of thing. Yeah, so that helps you become an all-round performer, makes you more employable. Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and so, you've touched on a lot of things there. I love it. It's great. So you said everyone is a front man.
Yeah.
Wow. All women.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you're in the band, then you have, I guess, what you're saying is a duty?
A responsibility. It is my responsibility to help that person have a good time, send them home happy, connect. Music has the power to do that. We're all, like you, we're in a great position to be able to make people happy. Music does that, like I said. But I take full responsibility. Those people didn't have to be at our gig. They could have chosen to stay home or go and have a latte in a cafe. You know, they didn't have to come to our gig and fork out that money, you know.
Yeah, I always kind of think of it, well then, we're stuck here in this position. We may as well have the best time that we can possibly have. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's important to perform with people on that same stage as you that you connect with, right? I think I don't think it's something that can be manufactured. I think you've just got to feel that connection. You know, even the simple art of, you have a break between sets, you go to the bar with your bandmate. You know, sometimes, you know, and this is not only in a band situation, but, you know, that feeling of trying to manufacture a conversation when, you know, you don't really have that many things in common or something. So I think it's important in a musical situation to feel that connection too, because it makes you have a good time, helps the band connect. I think the audience members also can see and feel that connection, you know, when the band is firing and that type of thing.
Yeah, because obviously if we're up on the stage and we're enjoying ourselves, no matter how we arrive at that, then that enjoyment is going to go across to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you're in an audience and you're watching someone perform, you're rooting for them, aren't you? You want them to give you something so that then, because that's what they're there for. They're there to be entertained.
Yeah. I mean, it works both ways. The more you give, the more they're going to give back, and vice versa. You know, it's all part of being a performer. All part of them having a great night out. You know. So
I've got a bunch of questions to ask you, and not really many of these are prepared ones, because you've just we were just talking off the camera earlier, and you were saying, oh, maybe I could have prepared to say this or whatever, but really the magic happens when you just are into that. So you were just saying that you give, and then the more you give, the more you get back. So my question is now, from what you were just saying, is when did you sort of arrive at that mentality? Can you remember way back when, or was it just a bunch of little steps that all had to kind of come together?
I think there's various experiences, and you realise certain things that, you know, maybe like something that just popped into my head is that I was in a band once that contained really great musos, and we did some what I would consider complex kind of rock pop sort of stuff. Like the band that comes to mind is Living Colour. That kind of stuff. Prince, we did the New Power Generation stuff. Again, complex stuff, but it I remember doing those songs in particular, and sometimes they don't necessarily connect because there's too much going on musically, and while you might be satisfied as a musician, you realise, they just want to hear that 3-chord stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you could be doing an AC/DC cover band, and someone can still come along and go, hey, you know any ABBA?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, so I don't know, people sometimes just not that they want it dumbed down, but just want something simple to understand. So
it's that connection thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's all well and good if it's really flashy, but it still needs to connect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as simple as what I said before, as simple as eye contact. If you do that, someone might go home thinking, not that I'd think this, but, they looked at me. You know, they get all starry-eyed or whatever. But, you know, it's just connecting, you know.
Well, I guess we're having a conversation right now, and we're talking about, you know, the more that you give, the more that you get back. It's kind of like a conversation. Boom! I'm just realising, you know, as we're talking, this is why I love doing this and hanging out with legends like you, because we're all giving, we're all getting back, and so what I'm getting back is it is a conversation, a call and response type of thing, where if you are just in an actual conversation, well then you can tell if someone's not really that interested in what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then so if you're not really that interested in putting out your music to whoever's actually listening, well then they're not gonna get that feeling. And so that eye contact thing, it's so simple but so effective, isn't it? If you're just engaging, you know, this song is for you or for you. I'm looking over there, but I'm thinking, wait, the camera's there. And the camera's there, so I need to engage. Well, here is who I'm performing to right now. You know,
if I'm an audience member, I look for that in the artist I'm going to see.
I guess that's same for me as well.
No matter what form of music, it doesn't have to be dancing around the stage kind of connection. Like I said, and even in classical music or jazz, whatever, where the performers aren't jumping around the stage, they've still got to connect. Or throw out that energy. If they don't, then, you know, maybe I'd rather walk out of the audience and I'll say, well, they're not entertaining me. I want to be entertained. You know.
How do you think that someone that's performing that isn't in a suitable dancing or jumping around the stage type of act, how can they give that energy?
Once again, eye contact, a cheeky smile, accepting applause, being thankful to the audience, rather than somebody that might go song to song, not even look up, acknowledge. It's just simple things.
In those cases, it's more of all of the little things that you put together, where obviously you and I, where we do that thing which can be the larger in life type of performance, but you know, we don't always necessarily need to do that if this musical situation we're in doesn't call for it.
That's right. Exactly right. But if we are in a band that requires that over-the-top thing, you know, like Jack Black is in School of Rock, you know, if he's going to do the Pete Townsend windmill, you know, really exaggerate it, make it so the person at the back of the room can see. It's not, you're not only just performing to the front row, you know. So the cheap seats at the back. I got to say that it's really great when you and Jordan and Chelsea in Using really engage those people right up the back. In that bridgeway sort of area, it's for me. I get a little bit lost in the fact that there's all of the people right in front of us. Whereas they are up the back. And so we are performing to them as well. Absolutely. Every person in the room. And they notice. It's a powerful thing.
So, Vito, you were telling me a little bit before off camera, but tell everyone, how did you get the start? You know, you were telling me it was actually really quite early, right?
Well, my parents asked me if I would like to learn the guitar, and that I was about 8 years old, thereabouts, and I'm like, but Mum used to take me by bus to guitar lessons, that type of thing. And Dad as well. And I remember my guitar teacher, I think he stopped teaching. I was quite young, as I said, 8 years old, but my parents could see that I was still really keen, so they found me another teacher. So I went to that teacher, Gary Swain was his name, Ron Pierce Music. There's a couple of names from the South Australian music industry. I mean, they're quite elderly now, but thankfully still around. But they used to back up artists like Johnny O'Keefe and things like that. So,
cool.
So I was learning from some of the best back then. When I was 18, Gary asked me if I wanted to teach at the school. That was my start as far as teaching, which I did for a number of years and now have gone back to. As far as performing, my parents were supportive. My dad put an ad in the local messenger newspaper looking for drummer, keyboard player, etc., forming band. The drummer we ended up with, John, his mum answered the ad and said, where do you live? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like across the bridge from where I lived, so it was basically a neighbour type of thing. So yeah,
Wow. And how old were you then?
10, 11 years old.
10, 11 years old, and your dad is putting an ad saying looking for drummer.
Yeah. So
cool.
So we formed a band, and Dad was quite entrepreneurial, and the people he worked with used to be part of a baseball club, Port Adelaide Baseball Club actually, and Dad got us a gig there. We also played at one of the local clubs, the Italian clubs that my dad was part of. And being so young and all us boys being under 16, we couldn't drive, so Dad took us around in back then the EH Holden or the Ford XB Falcon, even took us as far as I remember Mildura interstate or Port Augusta, those kind of places. So we had all of our gear in the trailer and that type of stuff. Sometimes we slept in the trailer. That was our accommodation for the night. But, you know, I kind of liken it to serving an apprenticeship. So that was the way back then. And I felt like, hey, I'm a musician because I'm doing gigs, you know. Things have changed. Well, I mean, it still makes me feel like a muso to do gigs, and as yourself, you do lots of gigs. With the generation now, I feel for them because there's not as many gigs as when we grew up. But they might see satisfaction in other ways. It could be that they film themselves and their band and they go on YouTube, and it's how many hits you get on YouTube, that type of thing. So that's a different thing altogether, and it's something that I've got to learn to adapt to, the whole social media thing. Yeah, so it's an ever-evolving thing, the music industry. You know? So,
yeah.
But here we are. But I think people that grew up in my time, and I see them still out there gigging, at least they got to that stage. I think it was genuine talent that got them to here and now. They didn't have to go on Facebook or YouTube and say, hey, look how great I am. Because let's face it, anybody can say anything they want about themselves, you know, make it bigger than what they are or what it is that they're doing. But I think a lot of guys from that era growing up, 70s, 80s, 90s kind of thing, they had to have genuine talent, you know.
Because there was a lot of others ready to take their place, if not. Yeah.
I mean, I've got older friends that tell me the days, and Adelaide supposedly was the music capital of Australia, and they could do 3 gigs in the one night, you know. Do an afternoon gig, pack up, go to the next gig, pack up, go to the next gig. It's like, and they could do that 6 nights a week. And that's in this town, Adelaide. So
I've got a question for you in regards to from then till now.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bunch of changes that our industry has experienced, but then there also has to be some things that are still the same. And so I guess you've sort of touched on that, but what are the first things that come to your head where it's like, well, these things are really different? What could you do then that you can't do now, and vice versa?
All right. Well, I think with what you asked about what things are the same, raw, genuine talent is always going to reach people.
Yes.
It's always going to, you know, get through. So you can do all the production you like and whatever, but I think people know that, man, that lady, that guy is a genuine talent.
They've just got something, whatever it is.
And it breaks through all barriers, and there's been some manufactured pop artists from many years ago. Well, there's something that's sort of still the same. Was it the Monkeys that was like a manufactured kind of thing back in the, was that
60s.
late 60s?
Yeah.
And you still have those manufactured type of acts today. I'm not sure they're going to have the longevity of those artists that Rolling Stones. I mean, they've been around since, is it
early 60s?
Early 60s.
Yeah.
And they're still around today, and I hope they keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
Keith Richards is, I want to be like him when I grow up. Except I don't want to fall out of a coconut tree.
Oh, yeah, the poor guy. But he's still going.
He's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got some random questions for you, and some of them you might go, oh, I don't know if I want to talk about that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You've got the power here.
Yeah.
All right, so worst ever gig.
Ooh, worst ever gig. Okay, I wouldn't call it the worst ever gig, but it's something that comes to mind, and it's probably something that happened when I was about 14 or 15. One of my first bands, we got booked to perform at this particular, it was a restaurant actually, and so we were booked by the agent to perform on the Friday and the Saturday night. We probably didn't realise it at the time, but we didn't have enough songs. So we go to do the Friday night, and I remember doing Black Magic Woman, and it's like, oh, take another solo. Let's extend the song, you know. So anyway, we're young, we're learning. By the end of the gig, the manager politely told us, don't worry about coming back tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't a bad experience as such. I call it a learning experience.
Yeah.
You know.
That's really important, isn't it? If you think that, oh, that was bad, I never want to have anything happen again like that, well then you're not going to receive the positive with that, because there's a positive and a negative attached to every single thing in life, isn't there?
Yeah. From memory, as far as good gigs go, I mean, in more recent times, I was fortunate to perform on a cruise ship as the bass singer for all these tribute artists. I just remember feeling there were 3,000 people on board, and they were all there for the one reason, the music. And you're supplying them with something that they really loved. And so you're feeling the love both ways. And it was almost, I don't want to get into any spiritual territory, but it actually did feel spiritual. There was a connection thing going on, you know.
That's great. Yeah, because you're all stuck on the boat.
We're stuck on the boat. We're delivering what they want, and they're giving us the love, you know. And I met so many people. I'm still in contact with those people. Yeah, so that's a good thing. One of Jungle Jooce's first gigs was performing to 70,000 people on a New Year's Eve, the Glenelg foreshore.
Yep.
The New Year's Millennium. It was.
One of your first gigs.
Yeah. With that band.
Yeah. What year was that? Do you remember?
Oh, the 2000.
Oh, the 2000 one. Yeah.
99, 2000.
Yeah.
So,
Y2K.
Yeah, Y2K, when everything was meant to sort of come midnight, was it all meant to sort of everything fall apart and whatever. So
everyone thought, well, if it all goes down, we better go see some Jungle Jooce before.
Yeah, but a great performance doesn't have to mean you playing to lots of people. It can be a very intimate gig. You know, you're just connecting. Yeah, I appreciate all kinds of gigs, you know.
I definitely feel like that. I remember the first gig that we did with you sing, you know, we'd had one rehearsal.
Yeah.
Which not everybody was at.
Yeah, that's true.
And it all just kind of came together.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying before, I mean, you can rehearse all you want, but I think if you're on that edge of not having rehearsed or rehearsing with a minimal amount of rehearsals, that's when the magic happens, you know?
I guess as long as you've got the goods that you know that you can back it up.
And the trust in each other, you just know. There's got to be, like you said before, that question and answer thing. Like, I know I can turn around to you and give you one of those poses or whatever, but you'll give something back to me.
Yes.
You know? If you're doing something on stage...
I've got a few poses.
He certainly does. You've got to react to each other. As much as there's a connection between you and the audience, there's got to be that interaction between the musicians on stage. I mean, we've all heard of the Mick Jagger, Keith Richards kind of relationship they have, and
Lennon and McCartney, or
but
Benny and Bjorn.
But even in cold chisel, I've heard, and even if there's tension, that's the very thing that creates that potent mix that creates that magic,
That's really interesting. So
Yeah.
would you have, you don't need to name names, of course, something that comes to mind, which is, wow, we had a lot of tension, but we still got through it?
I specifically can't say that I've been in that situation where there was that tension, but I can say that if I've been in a situation where there hasn't been that natural chemistry, then another part of you as an artist, as a musician, takes over, and that's the professional side. With your experience, you will get through that gig. Even if you don't get on well with that person or what, you've got a job to do, you've got to entertain the audience, you will get through. So that's, once again, another side of you, the experience, the professional person in you that gets you through.
Yeah, awesome. Do you remember your first gig?
First gig, well, whether you'd call it a gig, but my friend and I, Dirk was his name, and we were at the same primary school, and our teachers did ask us if we'd like to perform to the whole school in the open space.
School's a gig?
Yeah, so we did that. We used to play to the school, so again, a learning experience. First outdoor concert was under our drummer John's Hills Hoist clothesline, so that was our first gig.
Fantastic.
28 Willamette Street, Glanville, John's place, yeah. So stuff like that. But first official paid gig, yeah, my dad, like I said, he helped us get gigs, got me into my first band. The Italian club he was part of, we performed for them, and that was great. And that particular community, they'd have a party for anything. So a child's christening, a birthday, so there was a party. And whenever there was a party, there was a band.
There was a band, yeah.
Even my 10th birthday and my sister's 11th were born a year apart, but February was hers, mine is in March. We had a band for our birthday in the backyard. So there's another example of, there were bands doing those kind of things,
You've just reminded me, I guess what you're saying is that once you sort of get over that first gig or two, and then people start knowing that you've got a band, well then all of a sudden these opportunities, they just start happening because you've sort of put yourself out there, people know who you are, and then all of a sudden these opportunities that wouldn't have been there without it are now there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's people will talk, they'll see a band and go, hey, they were great, and it leads to other things. Yeah, like you said, put yourself in the shop window as such. So so
I like that saying.
Yeah, it's important to get out there. So one of the bands, like Jungle Jooce, we do a lot of corporate work. Now, in some aspects, it's not putting yourself in the shop window, because corporate work, you're flying under the radar a little bit. So, but thankfully, we've been around a long time, so people know us from that fact too.
Yeah. There would be a shop window for corporate though, the corporate shop window, surely.
Yeah, there is, but not everyone who loves seeing live bands goes to a corporate show.
That's right.
Let's say they might regularly go and see a band at a pub, and that's their way of seeing a band. So I try and do it all. So I'm out there now with social media. I only went on Facebook, joined up 3 years ago, and we've had this conversation when we first met. Hey, you on Facebook? Hey, you on Facebook? Nah. Well, I just joined, but I don't want to go on there to air my dirty laundry or anything. It's purely for music. So, and providing you're advertising yourself in a tasteful way and not a tacky way, and say, hey, look at me kind of thing. But you need people at your next gig, because obviously the publicans or the people that book you like to see that
you're putting in an effort.
You're putting in an effort, you've got a bit of a following, and that type of thing, because you just need people to come to your gigs.
Yeah, it's all well and good to have a great show, but if you're performing to no one, well then you're having a conversation to no one.
Yeah.
So we all, as human beings, are susceptibility to receive the highs, but we also receive those lows as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any strategies for being able to, I guess, get through when just stuff's not working so well musically?
Okay, that's a good question. I think, experience helps, but also if you're in a band situation, it helps that you all support each other. I think if I've had a bad day, be it relationship-wise or if I've had a bad day at work, teaching, whatever, I think if you've got that camaraderie, that chemistry, one knows when the other's down and you know, they might need space, so you could leave them alone, or they might need the pat on the back, hey, let's do this. So, you know, they're the sort of things that helps when you're feeling low. People around you, you know. But for me, the music's always given me that high anyway. So when I had a real job and I had a tough week at work, and so to speak, I just look forward to that gig. That gig would lift me, and you get home, you can't go to sleep because you're so wound up, and you think, oh my God, that was so good, you know. For whatever reason, you know, you just get on that high. I don't need anything else, you know.
Yeah, so, that's good. So I guess making sure that music's in your life.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like that music is slipping away a little bit with other forms of life, and that you've got to try and fight to get it back?
Nah.
Well, that's good.
It's just always there for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
I've been in situations that, you know, get people down, be it that someone close to you might have passed away even. I've still got music ringing inside of me, you know. It's just constantly there, you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think I've learnt something there.
Yeah.
It's because I guess I have a tendency every so often where it's just, you've got whatever in your life that's happening that's taking your focus, and if there's too much of it, sometimes just that pure connection to music can, I guess, go off to the side.
Yeah.
For you know, there's a number of ways that it can happen. So it's nice to just, I guess, hear that. I appreciate that you just go, well, it's always there. All you got to do is think of it.
Well, somehow it's there. I mean, there's times where I feel, I'm not practicing guitar enough because I want to learn that piece or whatever. I want to improve my technique or whatever. But we're all busy, I suppose, and, you know, we've got responsibilities, be it family or whatever, jobs and so on. We all want more, but, you know,
it's appreciating what you've got as well, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, nice. So we're talking about, you know, your first gig and everything like that. If someone was watching that's thinking, I want to get a gig, and because I haven't done a performance of any kind, or maybe you've performed at a school but would like to sort of get out in public, what are the steps that they would need to take? Well,
I mean, if there's a student learning music at school and so on, I guess form connections with other friends that may play an instrument, try forming a little band, start rehearsing, getting up a few songs. I've seen things online like musicians connection services. I think there's something on Facebook that, you know, you might say you get a bunch of a repertoire of say 30 songs, because most gigs you'll need to have about that amount of songs, similar. So, you know, reach out and advertise, say, if you're an individual, you could go and say, hey, I'm a guitar player looking to connect with other like-minded musos. You can say, hey, I like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin and all that, or so they know what style of guitar player you are, or so on, and this is what you want.
But it's developing, I guess, having a product really, isn't it?
You need to have a product before you can then sell that product. So meet other bands, go to see gigs. So go to a hotel or whatever. I'm not sure if there's any underage gigs out there, like the old blue light disco type of thing.
Right.
Do they have bands?
Depends on
I'm
the
not
agents,
sure.
isn't it? Yeah.
But, you know, just meet people, other bands, ask advice, always ask questions. So have the social media thing, you know, have a Facebook page, have a website. That's another selling point. Put your music on there, put a video on there, that type of thing. It's all selling you or the band you're in. Even with our experience, we're still conscious of needing to let people know, hey, you know, we're out there, we're doing this, and so we put ourselves in the shop window, like I said before.
I like that saying.
Yeah.
Most embarrassing moment on stage?
Embarrassing. I don't know so much about embarrassing as such, but I can tell you there's been a lot of injuries on stage.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's hear it.
Be it that I've been involved in bands that sort of jump around a bit and that kind of thing, you know, that kind of rock and roll thing. I've broken my metatarsal bone, I've done my Achilles, but the show must always go on.
Yeah.
So I remember doing a gig where it was in Jungle Jooce, and we were doing the song We Will Rock You, and come the guitar solo, the choreography in that required us to jump up and down.
Right.
So
no.
I was wearing these like high heels, right? So my foot did one of those in a quick motion. So I thought, I've done something here. So I realised I couldn't move. So anyway, but I carried on. The gig still had to happen.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was like the second to last song, so it was okay. I just went to hospital later. Mind you, there was another gig I did. It was an outdoor show, and there was a couple of thousand people out there. I didn't do anything on stage that made this happen. I just stepped forward, and for whatever reason, my Achilles tore. It didn't snap, it just sprained it or something. It felt like
either way, ouch.
Yeah, so once again I couldn't move, and the first song we did, so it happened in the first song, in the intro, so I had to sing for another hour. So I thought, oh no, there's a couple of thousand people, the show must go on.
Yeah.
There's another injury. I fractured this finger, so this was dangling down half hour before a gig, and my friend went on the internet and said, all you need to do is put it in a splint. And so I made my own splint out of cardboard, get the gaffer tape, because in my world gaffer tape fixes anything.
Yes.
So gaffer tape, so I had a permanent middle finger upright, so I readjusted my technique. A lot of power chords and finger tapping got me through a 4-hour gig. And hospital was thereafter, so they began to get to know me at the hospital by first name. So, look, I don't know if you'd call them embarrassing, but...
That's a good answer.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, that's good. Ouch!
Yeah.
So you've done lots of touring. Would you mention to everyone where that you've toured around? Obviously a lot in Australia, but you've been on the cruise ship and everything like that. But also, what is it like in order to be able to keep your life still happening at your home base? How does it work, juggling being a touring guy?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. Most of what I've done hasn't required me to be away from home for a super length of time. It's been like short spurts kind of thing. Some of it's been leaving Adelaide of a Saturday morning, and I might even be back Monday, so it's going interstate, doing a couple of shows, coming back. Some of it has been long. I mean, some of it is long travelling, like in a vehicle. So you're cooped up in a vehicle, so you better be able to get on well with people.
Yes.
And there's the respect towards each other that you need. Like, be sensible. I mean, there's that old rock and roll saying, the sex and drugs and rock and roll, but some of it is all perception. I'd say if you ask Mick Jagger truthfully and Keith Richards and Gene Simmons, I think they're probably into the water and living like sensibly, because you've got to be able to put up with the long hours and stuff. Just knowing that the reason you're out there doing the touring is the job at hand, which is doing that job on stage, because if you don't do the job required, then
why are you out there travelling?
Why are you out there, but why should they have you back as well?
Yes.
So you've got to be a good person as well. I mean, myself, when I have employed other musos for different projects, I look at the person too, before the musician. So I think that's important. Yeah, so you mentioned Steve in regards to...
just having a connection with the other people, yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that when the band I was in were looking for a bass player, our drummer back then felt the connection as simple as saying, hey, do you want a beer to this guy? And he reciprocated and he said, yeah, let's have a beer. So that was the connection.
It's really important because the other musicians, they're people too, and that you have to realise that you're in a team, really, isn't it?
It is. It's that gang mentality. I reckon I remember Ian Moss said something about Cold Chisel in that, as opposed to the single artist kind of thing, when he had Tucker's Daughter and whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whereas with Chisel, it felt more like a gang mentality. You're in it together kind of thing, you know.
No I in team.
Yeah, but I like that team thing that you're doing it together.
It's a camaraderie, isn't it?
Camaraderie, and if you're a solo artist doing something, if you've had a bad day, there's nowhere to hide behind someone else. There's no one else to lift you.
Yes.
You know, you can't go hide behind the speaker box or whatever.
Yeah.
But in a band, you've got guys around you. You know.
We've talked a number of analogies, I guess, with the conversation thing, the call and response.
Yeah.
The magic doesn't happen in the same way when it's only just yourself. I've found that.
Yeah, well, unless you had a mirror there and say, hey, how you doing? So anyway.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I've got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
This one is, I believe, really important, and it may be a bit of a weird thing to kind of talk about, but you have a successful marriage and you've got a lovely young boy that you said goodbye to this morning because he's off on camp.
School camp.
Yeah. And to be able to be the family man and also, I guess, the guy that's in a relationship that keeps it together to make it work while still going off being a performer, and I guess in lots of ways that stigma that you talked about before, sex, drug and rock and roll, that, you know, it's not necessarily that way. Like what's life like for you to be able to keep all of those things working?
Well, trust, support, just I mean, I've had friends over the years that maybe unfortunately haven't had that trust behind them or whatever, whether it be because of that stigma type of thing that, oh, you're going away, you know, what's going to happen or whatever. I'm fortunate, you know, in that I'm not one of those. So, you know, if I've had a time where I haven't been gigging or whatever, for whatever reason, my wife is, hey, boo, you know, get out there. Not to earn the money, it's just do what makes you happy sort of thing, and she supports that. So
that's lovely.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah.
And so being the dad that might have to, I remember that it was the birthday party and there was a gig on, and then, so how do you juggle being a dad and as well as being the musician? Yeah,
look, I've, I mean, aside from the dad part, but over the years, when being a musician, being part of a band, you have a responsibility. So there's been many a time where I've missed family functions, weddings, whatever. But it's just part and parcel of the job we do. I mean, and the hours we do it, you know, it's at night time, it's a Saturday night, it's a Friday night, it's whatever. You do miss out on a lot. He's got this independence thing happening right now, especially since going to high school. So he's got his own thing going on. So I feel I've got that time for my music as well. But I mean, I'll still do a late gig and get up for his soccer game on a Sunday morning, you know, on 2 hours sleep. I don't care, I'm there. So you all support each other, you know.
I see. So it's just the juggling act of just keeping all the balls in the air.
Yeah.
In your life, this doesn't necessarily need to be strictly music based, but what's the first thing that pops into your head when I say the best advice you've ever been given? Yeah,
just if you choose to do something, do it with passion, do it with belief. I mentioned to you earlier, I said if you can't see, you can't be. You know.
I like that one.
So
I wrote it down.
So visualize what you want to do, what you want to be. You know, if you can't see yourself doing that, then what's the point? You know, if you, like I said, if you choose to do something, do it with all your heart, because what's the point? And you're going to bring people down around you. And if you're in a band situation and you have people like that, I mean, I have empathy. I'll go and say, hey, is everything okay, kind of thing. But sometimes after a while, some people can't be helped.
Yes.
So
yeah, that passion thing.
Yeah.
All right. Random question. Your best equipment that you acquire that you love. What's your number one piece of equipment on the job?
Well, I have my trusty '79 Strat that my parents bought me when I was a child. And shall I get that?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Nice and handy. So yeah, this is my workhorse Stratocaster 79. As you can see, there's a bit of wear and tear. Nowadays, you can buy a relic guitar.
Yeah, but that's happened
this
for real.
This is the real deal relic.
Yes.
There's a lot of sweat here. I used to think when I do a gig and there's a lot of sweat here, perspiration, whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be there'd be bits coming off, or I knew that it was going to come off, but I thought, well, hey, so be it. It's got character. You know?
Yeah.
So, but this is a '79 Strat. I've got a few, but I seem to always go back to this one. So yeah.
I remember those pickups when you were showing me the first time when we had that using rehearsal. You were saying, "Oh, I'm thinking that they're a little bit too heavy," and then you plugged it in, and it just sounded so good. And I don't know if you remember, but I just said, "You have to keep them. They're way too good."
There's a lot of guitar players, a lot of friends of mine. We've gone through the process of, let's change pickups, or let's try different cable, and the cable gives you different tone. I'm like, are you sure? So you do it and you go, hang on, I think I can hear a difference. Or whereas a mate of mine who's really fastidious with tone, he'll go, yeah, can you hear the difference? And sometimes you don't know if there's an actual difference, or you think there's a difference. So
placebo effect.
You can drive yourself crazy, and you can go around in circles, end up back at square one, where you end up with what you had in the beginning. That's just a guitar player thing, I think. You know, try different valves. Yeah, but it's important with equipment to try and extract the best tone out of the equipment you've got. That doesn't mean you have to have expensive equipment. Yeah, try and find the sweet spot of that amplifier, get the valves cooking, if it's a valve amp, that is. Yeah, but it's important to find your sound. I mean, if you look at somebody like Carlos Santana as a musician, if you can hear his tone in your head now, it's got that singing, sustain, hold the long note. You don't have to play a million notes. It's playing notes with meaning, finding the right notes.
Notes with meaning, I like that.
Notes with meaning rather than a lot of notes. Like, I don't want to mention the guitar player's name, but many years ago I went to see a very famous jazz fusion guitar player, and whilst his technique was brilliant, after about 2 songs I thought, I've heard enough. It sounded like like a typewriter thing, like going a million miles an hour. It just didn't touch me at all. Like, I'm not saying that people with that fast technique don't have soul. Some of them do, but all I'm saying is you don't have to play a million notes to, have meaning. It can be with a lot less notes.
Well, I want to keep talking, but I think we should probably call it a day, because I'm sure the people that are watching are thinking, I want to get up and stretch my butt muscles or something. So thanks so much for having me here and having such a great conversation. I hope you guys have learnt something. Did you learn anything?
Let's hope so.
So follow Vito. We've got a bunch of links to be able to follow in the description below. So thanks so much, Vito. I'll see you at the next gig.
Thank you very much, Crafty.
Excellent. And I'll see you in the next Crafty Music Conversation.